This is Alexis Fernandez reporting live from the Metropolitan Hall of Justice. At this hour, representatives from the Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office, Salt Lake City Police Department, the FBI, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms are meeting to discuss the events that have happened today. What we're referring to, of course, are the two explosions, one at the Judge Building this morning and another at a home in Holiday. 2 people are dead and 2 people injured. Now, just a few minutes ago, Police Chief Bud Willoughby came out to talk with reporters and gave us some startling information. He said he does want to tell the public that this is not a case of what he said, a nut gone loose on the streets of Salt Lake Valley. What he did say is that the bombings that occurred today were done by a very sophisticated, planned assassin. He said the bombs were made to kill people for very specific reasons.
Some of these people were in business together, and some of those people were in one business. But that doesn't relate to the other possible motive that could be behind this.
What are the possible motives?
Business related.
One is business, and the other one has to do, very frankly, with the Salamander white paper.
In what way?
Just all the players.
Now, Chief Willoughby referred to the White Salamander papers. You'll recall that was a letter that Mr. Christensen gave to the Mormon Church, and it did have to do with evidence that showed that Joseph Smith, White Salamander led Joseph Smith to find the golden plates. It did cause a controversy within a faction of the church. Details on that connection right now are still sketchy. One thing that Chief Willoughby did say is that there is evidence that both bombs were planted before 5:30 this morning. He said they were very, very sophisticated, as we said before, and that he believes that they were not done by a disgruntled employee or even an investor, that it was actually done by someone who was hired by someone else to kill people. Now, right now, he did say they do have a composite drawing. No suspects per se. They do have a composite drawing. They are not going to release that right now. They want to hold on to that drawing for a couple of days to see if they can get any more information. They are going to hold a press conference in about 45 to 50 minutes, and we'll have full details tonight at 6 o'clock. This is Alexis Fernandez reporting live at the Metropolitan Hall of Justice. This is Alexis Fernandez reporting live from the Metropolitan Hall of Justice. Salt Lake City Police Chief Bud Willoughby is just preparing right now to give us a briefing concerning those 2 bombings today in Salt Lake City, one at the Judge Building downtown, one at a home in Holiday. 2 people are dead, 2 people have been injured. As I said, Chief Willoughby has been meeting with the past hour with other officials, and we're going to go to him right now for this briefing.
At this moment, we have a task force put together here in the Hall of Justice. The task force is headed up by Captain Bob Jack of the County Sheriff's Department, and the two departments are joining forces into one because we definitely feel that there is a direct tie between both of the bombings here in Salt Lake County and Salt Lake City. We've also asked for assistance from the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Division of the federal government. And sitting beside me is Mr. Jerry Miller, who is the SAC. We've also asked assistance for laboratory work, that type of thing, from the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The investigation is continuing at this time. At about 10 minutes after 8 this a.m. in the Judd Building downtown, a bomb was placed outside the offices of Mr. Stephen Christensen, and when Mr. Christensen reached down to lift the box up, the box detonated and killed Mr. Christensen. Later in the morning, the same type of a device, almost identical, was found on the walk next to the home of Mr. Sheets in the Cove area of the valley, wherein Mrs. Sheets picked up a newspaper which was on top of the box, and that device detonated and killed Mrs. Sheets. There were 2 other people, one at both locations, that were slightly injured. Motives, there are two areas that we are centering our efforts on, and one is the financial dealings where both parties both Mr. Sheets and Mr. Christensen were involved in, and basically many other people. Those people who were involved in those business transactions have been contacted, and we've alerted those people and are helping them every way we can. The other motive we're getting information on has to do with the White Salamander letter, which is now in the possession of the LDS Church. More and more is coming in. We tend to believe more on the business transaction because more and more of the players are showing up in that investment and in that business than on the White Salamander letter. Speaking somewhat from experience of both ATF and Salt Lake City Police Department, the first thing we want to tell the public is, one, we don't have a person or persons out here who are going berserk and bombing everything that they can find. What you have is two very sophisticated bomb devices that were purposely set to purposely kill individuals, even to the point that those boxes had the individuals' names written on the top of them. That we know. We cannot give you too much at this point in time. We do have some witnesses. We do have a compositive drawing from more than one witness, and we're looking at that at this time, and in a point in time, if we don't get some identification on that later this evening, we will probably, most likely, release that publicly to the media so that they can show this locally here and nationally. The other question came up about the bomb and the sophistication. In my opinion, as a professional police officer, I think it was very sophisticated. It's not something that somebody can just put together. It had to be one that the person who manufactured the explosive knew just exactly what they were doing. It was electrical in nature. It had a cap, it had batteries, and it had a triggering mechanism, both of them. So it's not something that somebody just, like a hand grenade that you pull a pin and it explodes, or you light the end of fuse. It was very sophisticated, put together, and it was meant, again, to kill. It was not meant for any other reason. We will not know the type of explosives concretely until Mr. Miller's people from ATF, who are coming to Salt Lake City to aid us in this investigation, and I think they're coming out of San Francisco.
San Francisco.
So we will be able to give you more either later tonight or first thing in the morning. The main reason for this conference, though, is that I discussed quite a bit of information with the mayor this afternoon, the mayor's office, as well as the council, or the commission office, my office, the FBI office, Pete's office. We're getting calls, and people, it's frightened people, and we want to assure people that we do not have a mad person on the loose indiscriminately throwing bombs on the streets of this county and this state. These were manufactured, purposely manufactured, even to the point of a paid assassination type of a murder. So with that, I'll answer some questions if you might have some.
Are there still family members that might be in danger tonight? Or are they being provided protection?
All of the family members that are involved in as much as we know at this particular time have been advised. Those people have been either sent to, or we have advised them what to do in order to protect. I really feel, and we really feel, both departments, that they accomplished what they wanted on these two, for the exception that in the Sheets matter, in the fact that we feel that the bomb was in fact meant for Mr. Sheets, not his wife, Christine Sheets.
Chief, you said that you had composite drawing. Do you feel that there is one suspect in the case, or that there were more than one suspect?
At this point in time, we only have a composite of one person. We feel there may be more than one involved in the plot. We have that type of information, but there was only one person, I'll guarantee you, that carried those bombs to the location.
Was there only one person seen at both bomb sites, or was
multiple witnesses to the one bomb first this morning?
We know in the case of the bomb in the Judd building, it was an individual, a person. In the Cove area, I can't answer that at this time.
Chief, how many people were involved in the task force?
I can't give you exact. I'd say in excess of 40 will be assigned to it.
Chief, could you please once again tell us why you do lean more towards the business side of this than more than what's going on, and who was involved that has led me, or not necessarily their names, but why you read that way? The relationships between Christensen and Chiefs on that matter.
Well, a lot of this is based upon information that the department is receiving through tips, telephone tips or personal contacts that the investigators have made throughout the day. And we are not discounting the other, but we're saying right now it's almost a 60-40, 60 leading toward the business transaction rather than the White Salamander letter. But we are not discounting that because the same players, the same people are involved in both. So,
How many people have you interviewed so far today? Do you have any idea between you and the sheriff's office?
I would say in excess of 100.
Chief, Mr. Sheets and Mr. Christensen were in a business relationship. How recently did they break, and was there animosity between the two of them?
You've been listening to
we have no information.
Willoughby here at a briefing at the Metropolitan Hall of Justice. As Mr. Willoughby said, that he wants to warn the public there is not a person that is going out there and arbitrarily bombing places. The two bombings that killed 2 people today were very carefully planned. They were very sophisticated and carried out, he said, by an assassin. We'll have full details tonight at 6 o'clock and on primetime access. This is Alexis Fernandez reporting live from the Metropolitan Hall of Justice. We now join the following program in progress.
Police search for suspects in a pair of deadly bomb explosions.
We'll examine a suggested connection between those murders and a controversial letter this evening on Primetime Access.
We'll hear from those who knew the victims and learn what police are saying next on Eyewitness News.
Who's this next?
2 bombs, 2 dead, and threats of more to come. That's the tragic total Salt Lake County lawmen are adding up tonight after 2 separate bombing incidents that police say appear to be the work of one person. Police had no hint of what was to come until about 8:15 this morning when a powerful blast rocked the 6th floor of the Judge building in downtown Salt Lake. A local financial consultant, Stephen F. Christensen, died in that explosion. Witnesses say he had stopped to pick up a package in the doorway of his office when the booby-trap device went off. Investigators were still gathering evidence there when they got word of the second explosion. The scene was the holiday home of Gary Sheets, a former business associate of Christensen's. Sheriff's deputies say Sheets' wife, Kathy, was killed when she picked up a booby-trapped package left in the front yard of the home. Police are positive there is a connection in the 2 blasts, and we'll have more this Tuesday, October 15th. Good evening, I'm Shelley Thomas.
And I'm Dick Norris. Both city and county police departments, with the help of federal agents, are tracking down several leads in this bizarre case tonight. But the most obvious is the connection between Stephen Christensen and Gary Sheets. Both served as officers of Coordinated Financial Services, a financial consulting company that was reported to be in some financial trouble of its own. Police say they're following several avenues based on that connection, and they are sure of one thing.
What we've got is that we've got hired assassination.
Hired assassination?
I would say we have a hired assassination on people for a specific reason.
Other than business, police say they have one other possible motive. Christensen was well known locally as a collector of historical LDS documents, including one that recently caused quite a stir within the church.
The other motive we're getting information on has to do with the White Salamander letter, which is now in the possession of the LDS Church. More and more is coming in. We tend to believe more on the business transaction because more and more of the players are showing up in that investment and in that business than on the White Salamander letter.
Two other men, Thomas Moore Jr. and Richard James, both of Alpine, are also listed as officers of CFS. Police were dispatched to their home shortly after that second fatal explosion this morning. They warned the people of those residences and searched the residences and a nearby business, but reportedly found nothing.
The first incident in this chain of events came completely without warning. Our Richard Bingham was on the scene within minutes this morning in downtown Salt Lake, and he is at the Judge Building now with this live update. Richard?
Well, Shelley, in many cases, authorities get a warning, an advance warning that a bomb may be about to go off. But this time around, police say they had no advance notice that a bomb had been planted in this building. It was just minutes after the explosion when police, fire, and rescue units began arriving at the Judge Building on the corner of 3rd South and Main. The street was quickly blocked off, the building itself evacuated. Word that a second bomb might be inside triggered an intense search involving specially trained dogs.
He has a secretary that found a box addressed to our victim in another office, so I'm going to get that pointed out.
The secretary, Mary Alpin, apparently saw the explosion from her office on the 6th floor. She saw Steve Christensen pick up a package just outside his office door. It went off in his hands, and he took the full impact. Police believe it was a sophisticated bomb.
It was an explosive device. We don't have the exact details on the explosive device at the present time. There's been some conflicting reports as to what type it is, so I'm not going to speculate on it.
Investigators say the device did extensive damage to the entry to Christensen's office, knocking the door off its hinges and sending shrapnel, bits of metal, into the walls. There was no fire. Witnesses say it was a big explosion.
A couple minutes later, the firemen come bursting in the door and said, "Get your things and go down the stairs and go outside." And I realized it was in my building.
Well, my father and I were sitting there. We get into work early, and we were sitting there, and roughly about 8 o'clock, we heard some sirens, first of all, and it was just kind of normal sirens that we had heard. And then a few minutes later, we heard this big explosion, and the building shook.
Police are checking a report that a security lock at the entrance to the building may have been tampered with. Kelly Massels, an insurance salesman, works on the 7th floor of the Judge Building. When he arrived for work at 6:30 this morning, the security door was wide open.
I've never experienced that before. It's like I said, if there has been work in the building, even they had to go in through the code. There's only a janitor and the management staff of the building that has the outside key. All of us have, instead of a key, is just the combination to the door.
At this hour, the 6th floor of the building is still off limit to everyone except for official investigators. There's still a few spectators around, but for the most part, this scene of tragedy is relatively quiet. Dick? Shelley?
Thank you. Richard Bingham from downtown Salt Lake. As often happens, reports of that first explosion spawned a rash of copycat threats, and at last count, 9 separate bomb threats had been turned into police in various newspapers and radio stations. Police say they have discounted most of those threats as hoaxes, but one received at the Deseret News seemed to be chillingly accurate.
And he said, in case I didn't take him seriously the first time, that the man who was killed, and he gave me a name, and then he also said that name had not been released yet by the media.
The caller also said other bombs had been planted in the valley, but declined to say where.
That phone call might have proved prophetic when a short time later the wife of the chairman of CFS was killed by a bomb intended for her husband. Kathy Webb Sheets died instantly when she picked up a bomb placed on a wooden walk between her house and garage. Police say the device was triggered by movement and was equal in power to 1.5 to 2 sticks of dynamite. A newspaper covered the shoebox-size explosive, which had her husband's name written on it. Neighbors heard the blast and called police.
At about 20 minutes to 10, we heard a very compacted blast, strong one, thinking it was either a tree or something.
A whole bunch of leaves went down.
And then a whole bunch of leaves went from the tree.
Mrs. Sheets was a graduate of the University of Utah and taught school before becoming a full-time mother. Friends describe her as a fun-loving person with a great sense of humor. She is survived by her husband and 4 children. The first victim in today's bombing, Stephen Christensen, was also well known in his home community of Centerville. This afternoon, police had even thrown up a barrier around a neighbor's house there and were searching for a bomb there. Acquaintances described the 31-year-old father of three, who was also an LDS ward bishop, as a hard worker and a good friend, and could not understand why anyone would want to kill him.
He was a kind, gentle, very compassionate person. He was always thoughtful of other people, and I don't know of anyone who didn't love him.
The Christensens are also expecting another child soon.
As we've reported, the strongest lead police appear to have is that business connection between Christensen and Sheets. Our business specialist, Dave Thompson, has been looking into coordinated financial services, and he is live in our newsroom with a report now. Dave?
Shelley, Coordinated Financial Services, or CFS, provides total financial planning services. That means it deals in investments, property management, insurance, and real estate, among other things. It was the real estate syndications that have been causing the trouble. CFS, as one financial counselor in downtown Salt Lake put it, has been a house of cards waiting to topple for some time. Just last month, auditors declared CFS insolvent. Company investors were warned in a letter several weeks ago that CFS's net worth was about $6 million in the red. The company's 80 or so employees at the beginning of the year have dwindled down to about 25 now. Securities investigators, both state and federal, have received many complaints from investors in the last few months. The company helped professional people, mostly physicians, protect their income through real estate syndications, which, if they work out, can make both good sums of money and provide a tax shelter. In fact, recently it has not worked out. A number of real estate deals in Houston in particular went bad. Houston market is severely overbuilt, and the expected appreciation of property just didn't happen. CFS fell behind in its payments to its investors and its creditors. Our sources say that government regulators are concerned over the amount of commission CFS charged some of its investors, sometimes upwards of 35%. There are accusations of mishandling of investors' money, of mismanagement, even of money being spirited away. Let me add that these are allegations and are certainly not proven at this point. As far as we know, no formal investigation has been launched. But in the last 10 months, no less than 10 lawsuits have been launched against CFS, alleging this $40,000 promissory note or that $300,000 note have not been paid. In some cases, CFS has made new arrangements. In others, it has simply defaulted. The company set up a three-person commission to try to reverse the company's bad financial position. As of today, that committee is still in the early stages of formulating plans. Shelley?
Dave, exactly how much money are we talking about?
On the order of about $400 million. There are about 1,100 investors. Some people say more, each averaging between $30,000 and $40,000 each. That multiplies out to be close to $400 million total.
Thank you, Dave. And we'll have more on today's bombings and any possible motives, what police are investigating, coming up on Primetime Access.
Welcome now to Primetime Access. I'm Bruce Lindsay. On this day of extraordinary news in Salt Lake City, we're going to devote most of the rest of this hour now to questions emerging from the bombing murders today. Just to briefly summarize again, the first device exploded just after 8 this morning here in the Judge Building, killing 31-year-old Stephen F. Christensen, a stockbroker and former officer of Consolidated Financial Services Center. The second bomb exploded outside the home of the president of Consolidated, Gary Sheets. The blast here killed his wife, Catherine Sheets, age 50. And the experts say, by all indications, the bombs were the work of professionals. Right now, we have one of those experts live with us from the Metropolitan Hall of Justice. We frequently see Al Britton in his role as Director of County Emergency Services. He is also an explosives expert and has been very much involved in this case today. Al Britton, good evening.
Good evening.
Tell me about the extent of the bomb squad in Salt Lake City. What do we have in the way of investigators?
Okay, the bomb squad in the Salt Lake County area, the Metropolitan County, is more of a cooperative effort. The Salt Lake City Police has 2 technicians. County Sheriff has a technician, myself with County Emergency Services, and several of the other incorporated cities, so that we ensure that we can cover the entire county at any given time. We work on a cooperative basis, and if one of us is out of town, then one of the other jurisdictions will move in.
How does the makeup of the bombs exploded today suggest that they were the work of professionals?
Well, at the present time, we don't have enough information on the bomb themselves. We're waiting for lab analysis. I think the best indicator would be the nature of the targets. It wasn't vandalism like many times we have in this area.
I don't recall the last time we had a case that appeared to be a bomb directed at a specific individual. That's very rare in this area. Is that not correct?
Yes, it is. It's very, very rare.
What were the materials used in the manufacture of these bombs?
Well, here again, we don't know at this time. This will be several days until lab analysis can be taken. All we know is it was what we refer to as a high explosive, similar to dynamite, but it could have been some other type of explosives.
Were the materials that were used either in the explosive or in the detonation device the sorts of things that could be readily available to you or to me?
Well, they're very readily available, and this is one of the areas that we hope someday to correct. Anybody can go out and buy explosives. The only restriction is you do have to fill out a registry form, a federal form, but you can purchase it.
What is the involvement now of the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms in the investigation?
They will be taking the lead in the technical aspect of it. Their lab people are coming in, and they'll be coordinating the investigation of this.
Throughout the day, you've had many reports of suspicious packages, probably triggered by the two real explosions. Is there any reason to be concerned at this point about suspicious articles?
Well, I don't think to the general public, you know, there's definitely a pattern on the targets. I don't think there's a threat to the general public.
All right, thank you very much, Al Britton, for answering these questions this evening. Today's bombings have renewed that old debate of how well the state controls the sale of explosives. Professionals, even those who have only a basic knowledge of explosives, as Mr. Britton said, can purchase these materials in Utah very easily. Ed Yates joins us now with a look at that controversy that certainly seems to be under discussion again today.
And it is, as of today, Bruce. All explosives in the state of Utah, any parts needed for a bomb are easier to buy and build in Utah than installing plumbing in a new home. In fact, some critics of the state's policies say it's easier with current state regulations to blow up a house than it is to build one. This is Buckley Powder Company. State and city ordinances carefully restrict where it stores and sells explosives. These materials, for example, are being loaded in the dealer's bunkers some distance from the city at about 8800 West. But if I or anyone else wanted to buy 5-pound bags of explosives, tubes of nitro, blasting caps, or sophisticated primers, the procedure is very simple. Federal laws require that without a federal license, I would have to fill out these forms describing how I intended to use the materials, but personal, not industrial use is now justified, and I would need very few credentials to finalize the deal.
Just a social security card, driver's license, and then fill out the 4710 form.
Now,
answer all the questions right, and as long as there's no answers on the sheet, then they can sell it to you.
The government, by the way, no longer requires that its forms be sent in, as was the case a few years ago. The dealer now only has to keep them on file in case an agency wants to check them out. But it would not be difficult to forge the documents nor to use a fictitious driver's license and a social security card. Everything needed is here, except for personally designed mechanisms used to trigger a bomb. Legitimate buyers are usually engineering or geological firms and drilling and blasting companies. Lou Lucido with Becco Incorporated says Utah is long overdue for tighter restrictions. He is one of the state's most vocal critics.
I think the legislature ought to pass a law and, like the surrounding states have, like Nevada and California, to license people to buy explosives.
What would be the requirements for that license? What would you have to do before you could go in and buy some?
They should be able to take a test through maybe the Industrial Commission or something set up in the state of Utah, have legislature laws pass an examination to check out background experience and knowledge of explosives before they purchase them.
Again, personal use is a legitimate reason to buy explosives. Whether the materials used in today's bombings were purchased in Utah remains an open question. But even a professional killer bent on assassination would find it easier here to buy rather than steal. Salt Lake County Sheriff Pete Hayward this afternoon during a news conference, by the way, echoed concerns from lawmen, and in that news conference, Bruce, he simply said that you can buy almost anything you need in this state, and even though there are restrictions verbally that should prohibit that. There certainly is nothing that would guarantee that a person could not.
Why is it so lax here if it isn't that way everywhere?
Well, I suppose I could speculate, Bruce, and I am just speculating. The state perhaps has not seen a need to have tight restrictions in Utah because we haven't had a problem in the past. Also, there are some manufacturers that have a sort of a verbal agreement with the dealership, and so they don't feel they need that kind of requirement.
Today's events may suggest there may be such a need. Thank you, Ed. A commercial break, and then we continue our coverage of today's bombing attacks with a look at the salamander theory. Stay with us. We've been hearing two possible motives that immediately surfaced today after the Salt Lake bombings. The first is related to business dealings of the intended victims. The second possibility under study by the task force centers on the controversial white salamander letter. It was Stephen Christensen who produced that letter and turned it over to the LDS Church. With us now is religion specialist Dwayne Cardall to explain why that theory is given any credence. Now, Chief Willoughby earlier today said that the business connection theory appeared more plausible because it accounted for both the intended victims, Gary Sheets and Stephen Christensen, but you say now there is indication that both of those men were connected to the letter.
Well, and I think Chief Willoughby suggests that as well. It appears from sources that I've been talking to today that Gary Sheets may have owned about 70% of that letter that was turned over to the LDS Church. Christensen owned perhaps 30% of it, Sheets 70%.
What does that represent in terms of money? Is that a lot of money?
Well, it would be in the tens of thousands of dollars. I don't have an exact figure, perhaps as much as $40,000.
Briefly, what is the white salamander letter? Just recap that.
Well, of course, that's the letter that surfaced about a year ago. At least rumors of the letter began surfacing. It was acquired about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, by some individuals that collect. Eventually, Stephen Christensen acquired the letter, and apparently Gary Sheets in January of 1984. The letter then became an object of a good deal of discussion, both within and without LDS historical circles, and generated a good deal of controversy because of rumors about its contents. The letter eventually became the source of a good deal of research by historians in an effort to authenticate the letter, the time it was written, as well as the contents of the letter. That was done in last April. The letter was donated to the LDS Church, and in May, at the Mormon History Association, papers were published on the authenticity of the paper.
But is there any indication that the letter sparked, either within or without Mormon circles, such animosity or feeling or controversy as to incite somebody to use that as a motive to kill somebody?
Well, it was a controversial letter because it suggested some things that are not traditional in the history of the founding of the church, at least the way it was described in the letter. And yet, I think we have to remember, Bruce, that religion sometimes breeds amongst people some extremes and some real fanaticism, and you never know how people are going to respond with respect to their beliefs. We're talking about extremists now. You just have to look around us at some of the events that have taken place in the name of religion.
Well, that's true. What's the LDS Church official position on the letter? They say it's authentic?
Well, they have not taken a formal position on it. They have allowed the historians to determine whether or not that's the case, and those historians that have worked on it seem to say that it is authentic.
Okay, interesting theory at best, and we'll be looking at that and the other possible explanations as this story continues to unfold. Thank you, Dwayne. We have another break and then a look at a reason to feel good about living in Salt Lake today.